Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to talk about leadership, proactive leadership versus reactive leadership. And this topic really came through because Scott's been doing a lot of coaching calls lately.
Yeah, and I've been talking not only to our Academy members, but we have actually opened it up to anybody. We offered a free 30-minute coaching session with myself. And we basically just kind of went through, what's working great for you, what's not going so great, and kind of get you a game plan of how to proceed forward and get you where you needed to be. And we gained so much knowledge from just listening to what you're struggling with. And we're actually looking to make changes in the Academy. We're always looking to improve it. Not necessarily changes, I should say, adding things to the Academy. So one of the examples we're looking to do is started creating a sales course inside the Academy, because I was finding people are like nervous in sales. They feel slimy. They don't like doing it. And a lot of it, I think, stems from because they came from the doing aspect of they knew how to do the landscaping. They knew how to do mowing or whatever it was. But the sales are something they just kind of...
Yeah, when you take on the responsibility of your own business, that's just a different role that you probably never played before. So, it's, makes sense to be kind of nervous around taking on something new that you've never had to do.
Yeah, so that just really inspired us to start looking at everything we do in the Academy, because everything we did in the Academy initially was based on our experiences, what we have done, and input from people along the way.
Yeah.
But now we're looking to add courses that are based towards what you need. And
oh, absolutely. We always want to tailor it to the what everybody wants and needs, because that's the whole reason for it is to get you guys the answers you need to take your business forward. So
yeah, and then the other thing was I found some issues with some leadership. People just they don't know what they don't know, and
well, once again, that's a role that if you were never the owner of the business before, if you were just a laborer just on a crew, then you never had to step into that role. So it can be something new that you're taking on and maybe having some challenges with.
Yeah, so we want to dive into that a little bit here after a word from our sponsors.
The only app every landscaper needs, Company Cam makes it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Company Cam brings documentation, communication, and liability protection together in one simple, easy-to-use app for you and your entire team. Take unlimited photos and videos, share custom reports, create flawless before and afters, and even communicate and share progress with homeowners with galleries and project timelines, all from your smartphone. Company Cam, the only app every landscaper needs. Check it out at companycam.com/million or in your app store.
If you run a landscape or lawn care business, you know the work never ends. There's customer service, hiring staff, mountains of paperwork. The to-do list just goes on and on. Plus, you still need to do the actual work that pays your bills. Running your entire business with pen and paper alone is just hard and really plain messy. You know you need a better system to stay on top of everything so nothing falls through the cracks. Jobber is a mobile and online app that helps keep your business organized and looking more professional than ever. With Jobber, you can quote jobs, schedule your crews, send out invoices, accept payments online, all in one place. You won't know how you ran your business without it. Jobber offers free one-on-one coaching to help get you started, and there's no software experience needed. Get paid on time, go paperless, and impress your customers. Try it for free today at getjobber.com/MDL. This podcast is brought to you by Busy Busy. Busy Busy is so simple to use, and it's the most reliable GPS time tracking app on the market. And the best part is, it was built for landscapers. Busy Busy's founder created Busy Busy because he owns multiple construction companies and needed to understand better which projects were making him money and which projects were killing him. Payroll is the highest variable cost in the project, so you better be tracking it. Busy Busy does this better than anyone else. So download Busy Busy today, and don't forget to mention the $1 Million Landscaper podcast to get 3 free months.
We want to take a quick second to tell you about our friends over at Cycle CPA. I can't even express to you how important it is to have a good accountant on your side. You know you want accurate bookkeeping and financial statements every month. Instead, you're often left with limited time to focus on the accounting side of your business and no reports to show for it. At Cycle CPA, the landscaping accountants, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA has a team of landscaping accountants available to provide anything from bookkeeping to CFO services. Visit cyclecpa.com And for $100 off, mention the $1 Million Landscaper podcast. If you want to get the leads you want and turn your current clients into raving fans, then you need to try SendJim. They've created an exclusive offer just for our listeners. If you sign up today, you can get your first month for just $2. So if you haven't already, go to sendjim.io/MDL, where you can get even more exclusive deals just for $1 Million Landscaper podcast listeners. That's sendjim.io/MDL and take advantage of these awesome deals today.
All right, welcome back. So like Katie said, we've been doing a lot of free coaching calls here lately, and just taking some inputs and just finding out what's going great, what's not going so great. And one of the things has been leadership and being proactive versus reactive. And when I start talking to the different people, I'm asking them certain questions, and a lot of times I find out people are just very reactive in everything they do. And what I mean by that, they're not really planning things out. They're not thinking ahead of what could happen, and they're just very reactive. And some of the people get very upset. I know this personally because my dad was like this, very much so. He was a very reactive person. He was not a very proactive leader. He would never really think about what would come or what would happen if I did this. And I have a pretty good experience with this, I guess. But it is pretty common, I'm finding, in our industry. And it's not everybody, but
a lot of it is just because people haven't been taught. It's not necessarily something that is innately built into people.
Yeah.
It's very just common nature to be reactive. And so if you've never purposely put time and thought into honing your skills as an entrepreneur and becoming more proactive, then it makes sense that you're not like that. So it's not like a judgment call. I'm not like,
No.
oh, these people are bad. It's just something that a lot of people haven't really thought about, or like you said, you just don't know what you don't know. So they just haven't done it because they didn't really know.
Yeah, it's been a pretty common theme. And, we get into this business because we have all these dreams of making money and growing this big business and doing whatever. But we end up just finding they're getting just stressed out. They're getting burned out. They're not making the money that they wanted to or think they should be doing. And they end up a lot of times just putting out fires all the time, whether it's dealing with customers, dealing with employees, whatever. They're just going and dealing with whatever the issue is here. And they're like, I don't get anything done. But I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. So it's those like fires that we kind of want to talk about today, and just being kind of more fire prevention versus firefighter.
Can you tell Scott is a firefighter? A lot of fire talk today.
Yeah. Well, and it does. It leads back to everything. And
yeah. Well, the quickest and easiest example I can think of is like, say you're running a mower and you never ever grease it. Ever. You've never greased your mower. You can't get mad at that mower for breaking because that's on you, because you didn't think ahead and put in the work to maintain it ahead of time. That's like a very simple boiled down example. But if you don't do it, then that's one of the fires you're putting out, because now everything's all seized up, things are breaking. It's like, well, but if you'd had the forethought to go ahead and have some kind of maintenance plan in place, then you wouldn't be dealing with this now. So that's just like, once again, very simplified, boiled down example.
And I actually just came across this quote not too long ago, and I really liked it. It took me a little bit to think about it, but what it says is it takes a while to turn a large ship, even just a few degrees. And really what that kind of means is that you need to start thinking further ahead down the road in your business, rather than like just
your business is the big ship.
Yeah,
you're not going to turn on a dime.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to change directions right away, no matter whatever you're doing. And this is something that I see a lot, is that you're not planning ahead, not thinking ahead. Just to kind of give you a quick examples, people are saying they're getting complaints about work. They hired a few employees, the workers are going out there and they're just getting complaints about the work, whatever it is. There was,
it can be literally anything. It doesn't even matter what the job is.
But they're just getting all these complaints. So I asked them, did you do training with these people? Well, no, I took them out once and that's it. They just kind of let them go. Well, but training needs to continue all the time. It's one of those things that you have to be always training and always talking to your people.
And probably more than once before you just let them go on their own.
And it's having some kind of follow-up with it, having the checklist to make sure they did whatever they're supposed to do, their task. And again, it's that planning out that you have to do. And this is, again, being proactive versus reactive. If you just let them go do their thing, you get a complaint and you go yell at them.
Even if they tell you they know how to do it, even if they tell you they've done it before for another company, you at least need to see their work and see what they're doing, because they might be coming with skills that are awesome that they learned at another business and now that they can apply in your business, or they might be coming to you with a lot of bad habits that they picked up from somewhere else and are now just bringing them to your business.
Just because they worked somewhere for 20 years doesn't mean they have.
Doesn't mean they're doing it right.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind. And again, it's just, being reactive. What I'm finding is that, these people are going out, they're sending their crews out, they're getting complaints, and they go back and yell at the crews. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. And then the employees are coming back, well, I didn't know that. Well,
you have to set your employees up to win. You have to train them. You have to show them how you expect everything to be done. Then you have to provide them with the checklists and the systems to make sure that they are getting it done how you want it done, because nobody's going to remember everything. Nope. So the more of that kind of stuff you can do on the front end, yes, it takes time. Yes, it's going to be an investment. It's an investment in time and money, because you're going to have to take the time and pay them to be trained. But the more of that you can do up front, the better off you are in the long run, because you're probably there's undoubtedly something that's going to come up. We're not saying that there's never anything that comes up, but if you can cover the basics of like routine things like mulch, planting a tree, whatever, mowing the grass, trimming the edging, whatever, your very, very core things that you do.
And we hear
that down.
I hear a lot. I can't use systems procedures. We do things different. You do a lot more of the same things over and over. You dig the same patio pretty much the same way all the time. Do the same
even
base
if it's
layer
a different shape patio, even if it's a different style, there are going to be some basic things that are the same.
You stand by this is the way you've done things, and this is the way you always do things. It happens all the time, no matter what. So there's a lot of things. If you really step back and look at those core things of what you do. Another good example that I heard a lot were people that they're at the point in their business they needed to hire a bookkeeper or secretary and stuff to kind of help out, and more so the secretary portion, just to kind of help answer the phones and stuff like that and keep up with the calls. And I agree with that for most of them. However, I reminded them this is something too that you need to create the procedures for. You need to instruct them how you want your phones answered, how to deal with a customer, or how to put stuff into your software that you use, whether you use a CRM or Java or whatever types of software you're using. How do they do that? How do they go into that? You can go show them one time, but showing them one time and then you walk away, they're going to be calling you back. So it's just not being a firefighter, you need to be fire prevention. You need to do things to kind of plan out. And so I remind people, okay, well, you hire a secretary. You have a thing telling them how to answer the phone? Do you know how to put the invoice in the software? Do you know how to do this and that? A lot of times they don't. They're not thinking about that. They just think about the immediate solution. I can stop. They'll answer my phones for me and help. I don't have to deal with it. Well,
yes, but you have to show them how you want it done and how you want to be communicated with and what you want them to say to customers. Because once again, you might think that they would innately know not to be crappy and talk back to customers, but people will do it. So.
Yeah, so you just need to be thinking ahead of what could happen, how to handle things, rather than just going out. Because it's more than just, they're going to answer the phones, but how? So,
yep.
So just kind of plan things out. This last example kind of goes back to one of our Academy members. This again was just he was kind of being reactive. He didn't plan things out as well as they could have, and they hired some people to work for them, and they noticed that the work was taking longer than it had in the past when he was out there doing the work, and he started trying to figure out what's going on. Started talking to the foreman. The foreman's like, well, we're going out now with 3 people. We were going out 2 before. The third person's just standing around a lot, and it's taking him more man hours. So then he started telling them, how to do that, how to handle with a third person, or is there days that you don't need a third person, blah, blah, blah. He's still having some issues. So he sent somebody out to kind of spy on the employees, see what's going on. Found out one of the people was drunk. Found out that he's been drinking. And
you wouldn't think you'd have to tell people not to come into work drunk, but you have to tell people that they can't come into work drunk.
Yeah. So then I asked them, so do you have a company handbook, employee handbook in place? And they didn't. And this is something we have in the Academy because we've dealt with
a lot of people
stuff.
don't have employee handbooks, but that's really like the holy grail. It's the little Bible of how you're going to run your employees.
Yeah.
It's what you can refer back to.
Yeah, and it's not so much, I'd say 99% of people know they can't come to work drunk, whether they do or not. That's not the thing, but they know.
You would think they.
But it's how you handle it from there is how you handle the write-ups and things like that, or if that's something you do immediate termination or whatever it is. But you need to have these things in place for legality reasons.
Yes, and that is all in your employee handbook. So you can always just refer back to that. It's like, oh, here, if you see on page, for a first offense, I'm going to have to write you up, or whatever it is. It just gives you that structure for upholding the accountability.
Yeah. Yeah, and it, I know some people get stressed out, and then there's people that, you have to have the book written a certain way, but you just have to get started with some of this stuff and just start thinking ahead, planning out ahead. So if I hire employees, what do I need to have in place for the employees? I need to have an employee handbook. I need to have checklists, things where they know what to do. And again, it's just all kind of being proactive and thinking about everything. And I know a lot of it, you don't think about it. You don't think about it until you.
Well, this is why we have this all inside of the academy. It's because we have thought about it, and we have it all. At least every business is going to be different. Everybody's special. We understand, but we have a bare bones structure of. Here's like the skeleton of what you need to have in place in order to have fully functioning running crews.
But a lot of it just went kind of back to the leadership, where you just have to be thinking ahead and planning ahead of what could go wrong and how to deal with it. Instead of just snapping on employees and yelling at employees, that doesn't do anything. It's not good for you. It's not good for the employees. You're just going to piss them off, then they're going to leave. Then you got to find somebody else. It just creates this vicious cycle. So I just encourage you to think ahead a little bit more and be a little more proactive in everything you do in your business versus just kind of jumping.
Especially if you are seeing a recurring theme of what is something that keeps happening over and over and over and over. Sit with it, think on it for a little minute, and be like, okay, what can I do now to prevent this from continuing to happen over and over? Is it something that I didn't train people to do? Is there a discussion that needs to be had? Is there a system that needs to be put in place? Is there something as easy as a checklist? What could you do to prevent the commonly occurring problems?
Yeah, I understand, employees mess up or you had a bad experience with the customer. But don't jump to conclusions. Don't start yelling them. I always like to take a step back. And trust me, I've been fuming at times where I remember I had one employee that he was out working with me and I told him not to use a pickaxe in one spot because we had lines running through for the waterfalls and everything. And multiple times he was picking at this thing and I yelled at him, stop. And finally he kept doing it. I just told him to go away. So I always take a step back after a while and look at it. What can I have done different? Is there something I could have done to prevent that? Or is this guy just a complete idiot? I don't know.
Is he just not listening?
Yeah. But I always try to take a step back, and sometimes it's easy to jump to conclusions to blame the employee, blame the customer. And it may be, but always take a look back at everything that you're doing and figure out what could I have done to prevent this or stop
was
this
there
from
something
happening?
You could have done could have prevented? Did you explain to him that there was water lines there and he was going to break him?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I ended up going back and firing that employee that end of the day.
So there you go.
But and even the customer came out and saw me. He saw that I was getting frustrated with this employee, and I was trying to do everything I could not to yell at this guy, scream at this guy. And I ended up getting rid of him at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the other foreman asked me if he could fire him.
It's okay. That's a pretty good sign if there's multiple people that want to fire somebody.
Yeah. So.
But you left us hanging over there. You didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know how the story ended.
We ended up having to get rid of him, but he just wasn't working out. He wouldn't listen and it was multiple times throughout the day. He just didn't listen.
But there are employees that if you go ahead and train, that a lot of things could be prevented just because sometimes they just don't know. I've talked about this before. If you have a procedure for putting down mulch, if you have hired a 18-year-old right out of high school that just is working for the summer, they're not going to know that you want all the weeds pulled before you put the mulch down. Mm-hmm. They're not going to know what that they should be putting down, if you put down some kind of preventative on fertilizer. They are not going to know these things. Yeah. You're going to have to tell them.
Yeah, and we jump to conclusions all the time, think they're just idiots, they're fools,
they just don't know. You've been doing it for so long, it's second nature, but a lot of people, if it's not second nature, they just don't know.
No, and it's not going to go away, but it's always, like I said, I can't stress enough, just look at and be proactive of everything you do.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Got some questions for me?
I do. All right. You might smack me for this one, but let's see.
Could happen.
What makes you feel old?
Okay, we just came back from vacation, and I'm now solidly 45, and this was the first time that, like, I'm really starting to feel it, hiking up hills and stuff like that. Like, before, even if I had been, like, out of an exercise routine, you know, you're young, you can just, like, hop right back into it, it's no big deal. But I was like, oh, it's becoming very apparent that I need to definitely like lose some weight and exercise more often, so I'm not sucking air walking up. Well, because we live near we're in the Great Lakes, we're in Indiana, so we do a lot of vacations to sand dunes, and so I don't know how much experience people have with hoofing up sand dunes, but they'll get you.
Yeah,
they'll really get you.
I noticed it too in this vacation. Actually, we're biking. We're doing a bike course with my sons, and
Yeah.
I felt a little old. I had to back off. I had to let my oldest son.
Oh, you were feeling it as well?
I was.
Oh, I thought you were saying you noticed me being, fat and sucking air. I'm like, well, thank you. But if you were feeling it too, then I feel a little bit better.
I felt the same way. So.
Yeah, but because like in the past, you can just like hop right on and it doesn't even matter. But we're gonna have to we need to get like some more activity in our life.
We do.
Or we're gonna be hurting on vacation.
All right. Do you have a favorite coffee mug? If so, what's on it or what makes it your favorite?
I do. I'm using it today. Well, it's like the tumbler, the travel tumbler. It's one you and the boys got me for my birthday or something. It's nothing special. It's just like a coral Yeti, but
Gotcha.
I like it because you guys got it for me. So.
Okay. Last one. Have you ever had this can't be happening to me moment? If so, what is it?
In a good ways or bad way. I mean, I've had bad ones. Like we had our son was ill when he was little and had to be choppered to a hospital. So yeah, watching your child be loaded into a helicopter was one of those moments. So that was like a bad one. I'm trying to think if there was like any good ones.
Nothing's jumping out.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember the bad ones.
It's much easier to remember the more traumatic bad ones, but. I mean, I guess I should say our wedding day, obviously, when I was standing there gazing into your eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am the luckiest person on the planet right now. I can't believe this is happening to me. So there, we'll leave it with that. So.
We'll just end right there. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Remember, be proactive in everything you do. Have a great one. Bye.